right, my heart would start pounding. I start sweating. I start yelling at my wife and dog for no reason.
The dude couldn't play, and that was simple as that. But we knew that 2 years ago. The dude couldn't.
Isn't like proficient and like he isn't on his game, you can't start him week 1.
If you earn the spot and you're the better player, your ass should be playing. Period.
I would have it Carlton Davis on one side and Terrion Arnold on the other.
And welcome to the Detroit Lions News Show. We are here with a whole host of friends. My good old buddy Mark Schmidt, former Lion, NFLPA, Orm's form with his bum shoulder. He's off right now, so I could actually have him on the show. And the doc, John Macaroon with Sports Illustrated, All Lions, Detroit Lions podcast, or Detroit Sports Podcast. I'm going to sit back here. Remember, this is a live interactive show. Leave your comments, put them in here, and these expert podcasters will surely take your questions. And I'm sure, because, receivers are divas. So Mark Schmidt was a receiver. So, okay. Make sure if you want to go and get his autograph, he's going to be in the main lobby at halftime for the Rams game. I can't wait. We're going to go and have some fun. We're going to go to the Blue Crew and we're going to enjoy ourselves. You guys enjoy this 30, 40-minute segment. Take it away, John.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's a good spot to start, Mark, is that Jameson Williams is expected to kind of move up for the Detroit Lions. And just from your experience in the league and knowing routes and route concepts and things like that, for Jameson Williams, you heard the talk that, okay, he took it more professionally. He gained strength. And so now entering his second year, are you confident that he can actually have that breakout season? I mean, he's super talented, but we all are clearly seeing that the wide receiver spot is more than just pure speed. There's understanding of timing, chemistry with the quarterback, putting in the work strength-wise. And so now you're aware, Mark, watching the NFL, that, the abilities of a wide receiver go far beyond just the talent. The work has to be put in. Jameson Williams did the work. From what you've seen and, the talent that he has, can he be the number 2 this year? Can he be the guy that everyone's talking about having the breakout season?
I think he has the potential to do it, John. The potential's always been there, but, and you got to get to it, by your get it, or you're not going to be around, or you're going to be traded somewhere else. So the potential is there. The system is there. It's worked itself around him enough instead of he working himself around the system. It's just been a situation where he has speed. He's got as a good route runner, but really hasn't been the guy and been in a little bit in the shadow of course, Reynolds and St. Brown and, over the years here for the last couple. But, this has got to be a breakout year. Do I see him as an 80 reception guy? Not really. He's not a go-to guy. He's a big play guy. Go-to guys are 3rd and 6 guys, 3rd and 8 guys. I see Jamo is more or less a big play guy, and I see him as a 35, 45 receptions for 600-700 yards and 6 touchdowns. I think that would be a good year for him. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat with J-Mo. This is 3rd year going in, no injuries, no distractions, no suspensions. He's kind of, he came out a little bit ago and was kind of like self-admitting that came into the NFL a little bit immature and was like, I did some things my way. I didn't listen. Now I'm starting to listen more. And that's a good thing. And like Mark said, too, he's a big play guy. I don't think he's going to be a go-to guy. He was a 1st-round pick, though, so you want him to put up numbers, but you have to remember the pecking order here in Detroit. It's Amon-Ra, then it's Sam Laporta. And, and don't sleep on guys like Khalif Raymond. You know, he can catch some balls. He can make some plays. He's a little bit of a speed guy too as well. But I think J-Mo, he has the opportunity. He's going to be wide receiver 2 here now. Josh Reynolds is gone. You know, he's going to get some of those looks. But Goff, he likes to spread the ball around. We got Jahmyr Gibbs who can catch the ball. Even Montgomery. If you looked at Dave Montgomery's numbers in Chicago, he caught 40, 50 balls. You know, he didn't do it last year as a Detroit Lion, but he's more than capable of catching balls too. But J-Mo is going to be a guy that's going to be, you know, he has to be held accountable. I think it's third year. You're going to have to put up or shut up a little bit right now because I don't think he'll be a Lion much longer if he doesn't at least produce. And we're all going for the guy. We're all rooting for him. He's a Detroit Lion, but it's time to produce for J-Mo.
Absolutely, it's time to produce. But that's interesting because he is talking about wanting to have his number retired, being in the Hall of Fame, talking about being, you know, his legacy being one of the best ever. And it was so interesting, intriguing to hear when Dan Campbell said that, you know, he may maybe not be the receiver with the best hands ever. But yeah, so it kind of lends to some drops here and there. But I just think that with Jameson Williams, that the speed is so elite that it's still inconsistent with the timing with Jared Goff, because I don't even think Goff has seen speed like this. And so it's not easy, Mark. You guys have both seen it, that deep passes are not that easy to connect with on a consistent basis. So you start to see maybe the usage like a Deebo Samuel, where you get some end arounds, you get them in a little bit of a situation where you have screens and you tap into some of that where you can kind of get it up there where maybe not 80 to 100 balls, but I just think that you got to put the football in Jameson Williams' hand and let him create, because you saw what he did in the NFC title game. You got him the football and he got to the end zone. And so I do think that over time he may develop into that, but maybe not this year. But I just think that you drafted him in the first round. The investment was made to have this player be a little bit more than a 60 catch guy. I think that you got to start the process of making him a weapon, because when you have speed like that, I just think that just really the importance of the run game, opening up the pass game. But I just think that Jameson Williams, if he wants to meet the goals that he has, I think that he's got to be more of a focus of this offense. And basically he's kind of like, not force feed him, but kind of like in basketball, a rhythm shooter. You got to give him the ball and let him shoot. You got to get him involved early in games. You got to, you know, have him be the primary target a little bit more than he was, because he was, you know, when we talked to him last year, he said, you know, we're like, hey, you know, you're kind of open or you're kind of in these situations. He's like, yeah, you know, right now at this present time, I'm like the third read on all these routes. And we were sitting there going, whoa, you know, eventually, hopefully now that he earned the trust, he can be the primary read on a couple more plays, because I think that this situation will allow him to kind of meet some goals. And yeah, because I do think that teams are going to try to take away Amon-Ra and do some things against the run, which I think should open things up for him. I see him, if the opportunity is there to give him the ball, I think the opportunity is there to get him a little bit more productive than maybe even you guys are thinking.
Well, yeah, and I put him in the kind of category of, I think you mentioned Ayuk in there with Deebo Samuel and so forth. There are guys that started off as kind of just big play guys, and then they became go-to guys. And, you know, and it doesn't happen overnight. In this particular case, you know, he needs to do it this year. I think at the beginning of what you said there, John, you said, well, maybe not this year. Well, no, I kind of disagree. It's got to be this year. And if not, it's now you're into a little bit of a panic situation with him into his fourth year, and he's still not producing. And that's when we said we all agreed that he, you know, probably won't be around. But so this is it's a real pivotal time right now. Reynolds is gone, and you know, and they need him. I mean, bottom line, you know, having Laporta there is certainly great, and they have all the weapons with Gibbs, and they have the, you know, the running backs and Goff and so forth, and you know, it's all set up for him to succeed now. It really is. I think all the intangibles are kind of falling his way, and now it's his turn to have to kind of pick it up. We've been talking about him. He's probably one of the most talked about players who's produced not so much, for as much as we talk about him on this show and on other shows. And it just seems like everybody's been talking about the potential for so long, and he just hasn't really reached it. Nothing against the young man. I mean, he's had some setbacks, some of which were his fault, and some of which were not, when he's not a primary guy in a particular pattern or a particular number of patterns where he's the number 3 guy. And it's a little surprising sometimes to fans because, like you said, John, he's a first round pick. I mean, what are you going to do with him? But I just do not see, and I like the end around, use him. Some receivers, I know I've been there, to run the Utah left, Utah right to a wide receiver in a situation where you're doing basically a reverse pitch. In the middle, some receivers just don't run well in the middle. It just turns out to be a little bit of a disaster. We haven't seen that much from him. Deebo Samuel does it extremely well. It's not easy. Ayuk does it really well. There's a number of receivers that can do it, really well and run inside the tackles is what I'm trying to make the point of. We really haven't seen that much from Jamo on running inside the tackles, but there's different ways to get him the ball. Even if you throw like a quick 1 yard, screen outside and then bring it in, outside in, so to speak. And just get him involved early, which is what you said. And I think he really, he's not a guy who's going to do a good job for you if he doesn't catch a pass until 2 minutes to go in the third quarter, where some receivers, thrive on that. Cooper Kupp cannot catch a pass in a half, and he'll catch 6-7 passes in the second half because he's just so strong mentally. A guy like Jamo right now, he's a young kid. He's still inexperienced. He's not getting the ball until 2 minutes in the third quarter. You got to get him the ball in the first 5, 7, 9 minutes of the game and get him into the flow and get his confidence going. And then he thrives on that probably a lot more than a lot of other players.
Yeah, and I think you guys nailed it on the head there. Like, you got to get the kid involved. Like John said earlier too, about kind of comparing him to a basketball player. If you don't really get him involved, he's going to kind of, he's going to dry up. He's going to cool off, and then he's just, he's kind of just going through the motions. You have to get a guy like Jamo involved, and you have to get the ball in his hands. We've seen what this kid can do with the ball in his hands. His speed is elite, and he's going to open up things for other players too. He's going to open up things in the middle for guys like Laporta and St. Brown who don't really go deep, right? So
right.
Get the ball in the kid's hands and just produce. I come from the old school. Like, I love that he's coming out and saying, I want to lead the league in touchdowns. I want to be the guy that leads the league in receiving yards. Bro, just produce. Like, you haven't done anything in 2 years. And like Mark said too, not all of it's your fault. We know that you came in hurt, and then the second year with the suspension, that was on you. A little bit of a weird kind of suspension with the NFL there. But it's like, he's been kind of behind the 8 ball for 2 years now. And like I said earlier too, I was like, no more distractions. He's healthy. Get him the ball. He's wide receiver 2 now. He's going to get those looks that Josh Reynolds was getting. And Josh Reynolds, I know he gets a lot of flack of what happened in that NFC Championship game, something that I can't erase from my memory. He was a guy that was very reliable. He had 2 bad drops in that game, but Goff loved him. Goff had familiarity with him in LA. He came over. They brought him in from Tennessee when Tennessee waived him. We ended up getting Josh Reynolds, and Goff he's a big quarterback that is all about trust. And I think Ben Johnson is the same way. And Jamo has alluded to that. He's like, they didn't trust me. He's like, they just didn't trust me the first couple of years. Now I'm a big part of this offense. Just get him involved. I love that he wants to be this and that, but just produce, son. I just want you to produce. That's it.
That's it. And stay tuned, everyone. We're going to talk about clearly Jared Goff and the excitement level for the Rams game. But I'm very excited to be able to talk to both of the guests here today as well. So, Mark, everybody this offseason was talking about the X receiver, the third or fourth receiver on this Lions football team. And clearly, the weapons. It's Amon-Ra St. Brown, it's Jameson Williams, it's Sam Laporta. But many people were waiting because Dan Campbell put out the challenge. Hey, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Doris Fountain, Caden Davis, someone step up, take that X receiver spot. be the guy that can be another target to replace Josh Reynolds. Did you get a little bit nervous seeing Josh depart because of the chemistry that he had? Look, Khalif Raymond is a great replacement, but he's not that big-bodied receiver that I think Antoine Green was kind of tabbed to be in terms of the X spot. He was going to be the guy, but he gets hurt. And Donovan Peoples-Jones doesn't make the roster. You go out and get two more guys in Patrick and Allen Robinson. Is everybody making a big deal about their nervousness about the X spot? Or if it's not, like, for example, let's just say DPJ and Patrick and Allen Robinson don't exactly live up to the billing. With what they have, with the two running backs, the two tight ends, the two solid receivers, and a Khalif Raymond who's ultra reliable, are they going to be okay not having Josh Reynolds on this roster?
Yeah, well, I said this on the main event with Mike, and I was adamant about this. This was 2 weeks after the Super Bowl, and I think I just slammed Mike with it. And I said, I coach wide receivers at a high level, and when you have these guys carry you, and you get to the championship game and you're on the spot, and I said this 2 weeks after the Super Bowl on that show. Russell will attest to it. I said, Reynolds is gone. I said, he's gone. Done. Finished. I know. I've coached wide receivers. I've coached wide receivers at a level where, in the biggest moments, on the biggest stages, they haven't performed. And it's hard in the pros to come back to that. Okay. The drops were not bad. They were devastating. I've played the position. As a wide receivers coach, how do I go back into that room, start all over with you again next year? Yes, you helped us get us there. I'm not denying that, but I know the emotional part of this, and this is what you got to think about when you coach wide receivers and you deal with them. You're on the spot. Those 3rd and 8s, they were crushing. And I'm not saying there were other aspects of that 49ers game where they could have won the game. Absolutely. But again, I'm looking at it from the wide receiver standpoint as a coach, as a former professional at the position. You're on that spot. One time could probably happen, maybe get away with it. When I saw the second one, and I talked to Jeff Chadwick, I think 2 days after that, I said, the kid's gone. He's gone. Well, he's still got us there. He had a great season. Goff trusts him, all that stuff. I said, he's gone. He's not here anymore. And main event Mike was like, oh, Mark, what? Come on. I'm like, trust me, done, finished, over. And, that's the real cruel part about NFL football. But if I'm his wide receivers coach, and yes, he's taken us there, and we get to that spot and we're in that 49ers game, and I know how hard I was on my receivers at Arizona, and damn it, man, you 3rd and 8 and we're in the crunch situation and you drop, my God, you're coming back to the sideline to me. Whoa, baby. Wow. Those are my guys. You just made me look bad. That's the way I looked at it. We're all in this shit together, and then you did it again. Wow. And you open that door to the 49ers at home. I was in strong disagreement with going for those 4th downs. I said it right then. I said it at the moment. I got to tell you this story. This is great. My ex-girlfriend, who's a 45-year-old semi-NFL fan, called me up the Monday after we lost the Niners and said to me, doesn't your head coach believe in field goals? And I'm sitting there saying, yeah, she's kind of right. She's kind of right. I mean, and I know she's my ex, but she was kind of right. So, but it's an unfortunate thing. Who's gonna emerge into that 3rd spot? Well, it's got to be Williams. I put Laporta in number 2, and it's got to be nobody else is really kind of. And then you have the 2 running backs that you can throw to, which is a big part of the offense too. So, I mean, it's not really imperative to fill Reynolds' role. I think somebody will. I wouldn't know who to even say right now is going to do that. Maybe a little more production to the running backs. Laporta's obviously getting a little bit older. Maybe he goes from the great season he had to over 100 receptions. Maybe he becomes a Kelsey type receiver, which he's probably on the verge of. So I mean, I wouldn't even know, John, who to even say. Okay, who's going to be? If it's not J-Mo, then who's it going to be? I don't even know. I could give you an answer, but it'd probably be wrong. So that's just up for grabs. But to answer the first part of your question, I'm glad Reynolds is gone. I saw a lot of his good games last year. I know about the trust with Goff and all that, but I'm like, nah, it's time. It's done. It's done. Move on. So I know that's all pretty harsh because from even a fan standpoint, it's like, yeah, he had a good year. He helped us get there. I know, and it's a huge but, and it's kind of cruel, but that's professional athletics. That's what you signed up for. So that's my answer, and I'm sticking to it.
That's a good one. No, I kind of feel the same way, Mark. Like after Reynolds had those 2 drops, I never played the position. I didn't play the football at your level or anything like that. But I told my buddies too. I was like, I think he's gone, man. Like right away, I go, he's gone. That's 2 of the biggest drops of his career. Like those were devastating drops, just like you alluded to. Not just bad drops, just devastating. Like I think he catches one of those balls. We're talking a whole different subject here.
Agree.
I think, yeah, and I'm not going to blame it all on Josh Reynolds, like you said earlier, Mark. Too. I'm not blaming it all on Josh. He was a big part of this offense. Goff with the familiarity, the trust. I get it too. But my whole point, my whole thing about it too is, okay, you got rid of Josh Reynolds. That's fine. Whatever. You did that. I was a little bit more shocked that Holmes didn't at least try to get somebody in the draft. I was very shocked at that. Like, okay, you didn't even draft a wide receiver at all. And you only brought back Donovan Peoples-Jones and a guy in Darius Fountain, who's a good football player, but he hasn't done anything his whole career. He didn't do anything in Kansas City. And I got nothing against Darius Fountain, but it was supposed to be either Darius Fountain or Donovan Peoples-Jones that was supposed to kind of take over that Josh Reynolds kind of role, or just somewhat of a role. It's supposed to be J-Mo, obviously, but you were looking for that big X guy, that big body X, and it was supposed to be Fountain or Donovan. And I was like, I don't know about any of these guys. Like, I know Donovan Peoples-Jones had some success in Cleveland. He had a season where he caught 60, 70 balls, 800 yards, handful of touchdowns. So he kind of did something there, but not bringing anybody in kind of shocked me more. It just kind of threw me a little bit off with the draft strategy. And I love Brad Holmes, but he's not void of all criticism. Like he's a very smart GM. I was just shocked in that part. And then I think they panicked a little bit, brought back Donovan Peoples-Jones after they waived him, brought in a 31-year-old wide receiver in Tim Patrick who hasn't caught a pass since 2021. And you brought in another 30-plus-year-old guy in Allen Robinson who's on the decline. But they're all big body wide receivers. And I think right now it was a little bit of a panic move. And I'm not saying that those guys won't work out. Maybe one of them, maybe 2 of them do. But I was just a little bit more shocked that Holmes didn't at least bring in a younger version of a Josh Reynolds.
Yeah, and I think that was intended to be Antoine Green, but that preseason injury is super tough. And I think that played a factor into why they didn't draft. But at the same token, I think that they could have even potentially got a better replacement out there. So it's going to be intriguing. But yeah, I think that's why Dan Campbell was asked that question. He said that, look, we got so many offensive weapons, and we're not even talking about the second tight end, Brock Wright, who can take his game to another level too.
Yeah, I like Brock Wright. I like the kid. It's very unfortunate they draft a guy who becomes, Sam Laporta, who's just that good. But I like the kid on the roster. I like Wright. I like some of the times that he's had his number called. He's made some big plays. He belongs there. He's proven he's belonged there. That's the NFL. He draft a guy like Laporta, who's going to be a possible Hall of Famer, and there you go. Oh, you're back at number 2 again. So, but I agree with you on that, and he may play a bigger role than you think too. I know what Buffalo is doing here, and I'm not saying that Laporta and Wright are Kincaid and Knox. But Buffalo has said, and it's writings on the wall that they're staying in double tight end. Of course, Kincaid, the kid from Utah, can play like a wide receiver. So, they're going to use both of them. And the guy who was not so much upset about Kincaid's drafting was Knox. He's like, well, we're both going to play. So, there's all kinds of different schemes, and that's the word, schemes, that these NFL teams can use now. We like to put things in terms of who's going to be the number 2, who's going to be the number 3, and that's our job, I guess, in the media now. But these teams really adjust to the talent that's there, and that's where the coaching staff, especially a Ben Johnson, will figure it out. We sit here and speculate, okay, well, this guy should fit this role and this guy should, and that's our job. We're doing our job. That's okay. But you have enough talent in the room, they will adjust to it, especially a Ben Johnson, who, in my opinion, at this particular junction of his career, I would put him at play calling as at number 2 in the NFL, or 2 or 3. You got a guy named Andy Reid, and you got a guy named Kyle Shanahan. But I would put Ben Johnson kind of in that top 3. That's just from my observation and my opinion. Excellent routine, had an opportunity to become a head coach. He wants to stay the course with this football team and with this head coach and with this GM and with this quarterback. I think it's a real testament to him. And I will kind of quote, and I'm paraphrasing here, Coach Campbell when he said, and it's not a direct quote, but it's a paraphrase, that, Ben Johnson doesn't care about the money. He's interested in the idea. And the reason I kind of segued into that is because he's the guy where it kind of starts and ends here as we're talking about the offense and the wide receivers and the tight ends here. So that's why I kind of segued into that. And I would put him right up there with Reid and with Kyle Shanahan in that play calling. And when the Lions come to the line of scrimmage, I don't know if you guys noticed this, and when you know the game as well as I kind of do, man, I have a hard time figuring out pass or run. Man, sometimes it's a friggin' mystery, and that's great, because if I'm having a problem with it, maybe the San Francisco 49ers or the Green Bay Packers are having a time with it too and trying to figure it out. And that's where this offense is really good. It's creative. It's not reckless. Kind of like the Buffalo Bills. So it's done with a thought process. It's done with a mindset. It's done with the proper game plan. I'm not saying it's flawless. It's flawed at times, as everything in the NFL. But man, if we ever had a season where this was really the time, and I've said this how many times before, but I really mean it this time, guys. And it's their year, and Sports Illustrated picked them, John, as you know very well, to be the team and to win it all, which was great. The whole thing started with the draft this year, and I don't want to talk too much here. I want to get it back to you guys, but with that turnout, which I think blew everybody away. With the whatever it was, 750,000 people, I don't know what it was, just insane. Okay, I mean that kind of kicked off our year, and starting off on Sunday night with Mike Tirico doing the game for Sunday Night Football, Detroit native, everything is lined up kind of perfectly for us. Okay, and in having the Rams there, which it's not going to be easy. They won 7 of their last 8 last year, guys. Cooper Kupp is healthy. They're ready to go. McVay is going to be ready. They block out crowd noise and they go to work. They had a great season last year. Probably the best in the NFL toward the last 8 games. And they're coming in and they're expecting to win. So, I know I'm jumping around here a lot, but I want to get to a lot of things because we only have so much time. So, but it should be, a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, you brought up the point I was going to make in terms of the excitement level for the season. This is the year. It's been built to this. In the NFL, you build to a crescendo, draft and develop. You have the quarterback that you paid $53 million to. He's going to be expected to take the next step in his evolution in regards to leading this offense to success. I think they have a Super Bowl caliber offense. The question is going to be, does the defense support the offense at the level that it needs to be? You have the talent in place, but it's young talent. So I can see where people would be concerned if you get to a Super Bowl matchup and you're facing the Chiefs. But I do think over 17 weeks, Terrion Arnold and Ennis Rakestraw are going to gain a wealth of experience. And collectively, if everybody stays healthy, the addition of DJ Reader and Marcus Davenport with the development of Aleem McNeil and James Houston should make that defensive line very much a situation in which this is going to be a season in which a lot of great memories are going to happen. I'm going to be honest, and I've said it before. Part of Sports Illustrated is great. Yes, they did predict the Lions to win it, but it's hard. And I'm just going to take the approach of course, everybody wants to see the Lions win the Super Bowl, but I'm also a realist. And my brain is telling me Super Bowl loss. And, it could be against the Chiefs, Texans, Ravens. But I just think that the level of quarterback play is elite in the AFC. And I think the Chiefs will be tough to knock off. But I do think that the Lions are knocking on that door. And of course, as somebody that's watched the Lions, you always think, what's the worst case scenario? Well, we just saw a Super Bowl. We just saw an NFC title game that they choked away. Man, it'll be a fun experience if they make the Super Bowl, all the coverage. But like I said, I've always said it, and I'll say it again. My eyes would be shocked if I get to be alive when the Lions win the Super Bowl. I hope it happens. I hope this is the year. I'm excited. This is the most excited I've ever been covering the Detroit Lions, but I'm excited. I do think they start 1-0. They got the Rams number, but I think this is going to be a special year. But at the same token, there's still that thought in the back of your mind. They're just not ready yet. They're still a little young in some key areas.
Yeah, they are. Go ahead, Mark.
No, it's like I think what you guys are thinking. I think this team is young. Sports Illustrated, you got all kinds of outlets picking us to at least be in the Super Bowl. Las Vegas is high up on us too. It's now this the window, like you would know, Mark Schmidt, like you would know, the window it's not very open for to make some big time noise, and we've never made noise. Like this is kind of new to this fan base. We've had some good teams in the past. I'm not going to knock on the Lions, but this team right here, I think they're one of the best teams and at least the NFL. Like John said too, though, these quarterbacks in the AFC, man, they're tough. The guys like the Lamar Jacksons, the Patrick Mahomes, you have to deal with those guys. But I think in the NFC, we should have beat Dallas last year. Woulda, shoulda, coulda, but there's a lot of games that we should have won. But I think this team is on the cusp of doing some great things for sure.
Yeah, Mark, get us out of here on this. How do the Detroit Lions, what's the key for them? You've been at football at all the levels. What's the key for this football team to win the Super Bowl? It's unimaginable for a lot of people, but they're knocking on the door, and the opportunity's there this year and next, I think, with a young core to be able to do it. What do they got to do to be able to weather the storm, getting everybody's best this year, and then taking another deep run in the postseason? What's it going to take?
I think one of the things is going to be that the defense, we alluded to it just real quickly. I'm not sure which one of you guys did it. The defense has got to match the offense. And that's really, I'm not worried about, the offense so much, especially with Goff there. I am a firm believer, being 24 years old and taking that Rams team to a Super Bowl, that was huge. I don't think he gets enough credit for that. And he was able to do that as young. Now he's obviously a lot younger, or a lot older, a lot more mature. But so I'm not really worried about that offense. The offensive line is terrific. Let's just face it. They deserve their credit there. They're probably one of the top 2 or 3 offensive lines in the league. A lot of people have called them number 1. They all were pretty healthy all through last season. You have a marquee tight end. You have a marquee receiver and a couple of them potentially. Good running backs. And it comes down to quarterback. It's a quarterback-based league. They paid him the money that, he asked for. They gave it to him. He's the guy. He can't get hurt. The key, John, Goff can't get hurt.
Right.
I mean, we're in deep shit if he gets hurt. Protect him at all costs. I mean, the skinny white kid, just make sure he doesn't get hurt. So it's that, but the defense keeping up with them. Losing Kaminsky hurts. He was kind of right on the cusp of doing something. But I love Houston. I love the linebackers. Campbell should be a little bit better in his second year. You the rookie year as a linebacker is real tough in that league. You know, a lot of guys alone got paid. There's, you know, Branch I love. They have everything there. That defense has got to be able to. They're going to score points. They're going to score points. That defense, but we can't lose games 35-28. That can't happen. And I could kind of see that creeping in once in a while. Hutchinson, you know, I don't look at it. It got to me finally. Now I've watched enough of the kid. It's not about the sacks, the pressures. Holy smokes. He's got the most pressures in the NFL. That's really, you know, so he ends up with 10 sacks or only, you know, or 10 or 11, 9, whatever. Doesn't matter. It's that pressure. My God. And how many times is that poor kid being held? It's like it's unfair. But, you know, so they have that. But it's that defense sticking with that offense. They got to match them. They got to match them every step of the way. And you're going to have an off game now and then. And you know what? I look back at that Baltimore game last year. You know, you get just buried. And it's okay. It sends a message. Get you back to work. Okay, we're not that good. You're never as bad as you think you are, but you're never as good as you think you are either. So, you know, they may have one of those. But again, you're asking me back to your question, the key to success, defense matching the offense and keeping it kind of even. Defense is going to have to win us some games too. There's some games on that schedule that, you know, that are going to have to be 20-16 wins for us. I mean, it's a long year. And not every game is, you know, Goff going off for 350 and 3 touchdowns and we winning, you know, 35-24. You know, you got to remember the NFL season, you're going to have some 20-16, some, you know, 19-14 games that you got to win. And those are what really separates the teams. And when you have that, that's when you have balance, when you can pull off a game like that. And I can't tell you, when you're an offensive-based team, which this team is a little bit, they're a little more offensive-based than defensive-based, I guess, if you had to kind of weigh it, okay? By a little bit. It just is. So when you win one of those 19-13 games, man, that boosts confidence so high. That is so huge. I've been around teams like that, you know, are a little offensive heavy, and the defense wins them a game. Oh, man. You're going into the next week. It's okay. We relied on the defense. We got this. And then the offense kicks back into gear. And this league is all about inches and momentum. Whoever's carrying the momentum, holy shit. And if, you know, game of inches, and we saw it last year in the championship game. That, and learning from your experiences, because we don't want it to happen a second time, of not going for 4th downs when you shouldn't, in a hostile environment, when you got the game in a good security, but you're trying to put that goddamn team away. Easy, cowboy. Easy. Okay? Think about what you're doing. You're playing Kyle Shanahan and the San Francisco 49ers. They're a smart group, okay? You don't make those 4th downs. You're in a hostile environment. That momentum fucking changes real fast. And now you got yourself in a world of shit in a matter of 5 minutes. So, you know, that's the defense matching the offense, John. That's it. That's what we got to have.
So I want to promote Ted Rath. Ted Rath is an NFL coach, 2-time NFL head trainer. He's going to come on and diagnose all the injuries, prevention, everything. I hope all you guys can come on when he's on. Here he is. I'll give you his resume here. This is Ted Rath. And he's worked for the Philadelphia Eagles for 2 years. He was the head guy. He worked for Sean McVay. He was Sean McVay's guy that would pull him back. That was that guy.
Oh, that's that guy?
That's that guy. That's Ted Rath. He's the guy that pulled Sean McVay back. He's awesome. He's a great motivational speaker. What do you want to talk about to finish this off there, John, you guys, Marks? And I'm going to jump back here.
Well, I think what we should finish off with, if I can interject here, we got to get our predictions in, man. This is important. On that main event, man, we you know, they hold me to those predictions, so we got to figure out the wins and losses now for the Lions for this season and what the records are going to be. Mark, you're up first.
You want me to go up for the whole entire season?
Yeah, man. Okay. Start off with regular season record, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, the regular season record. Okay, I'm going to go with 12-5. Last year I predicted 11 wins. I was off by 1. They had 12. I think we're going to win 12 games. I think we can possibly win 13, though. I'm going to stick with 12. I think this team, like we've talked about, this is going to be it's more of an offensive team. I trust Goff. We trust everybody on that O-line. It's one of the most elite O-lines in the NFL by a lot of people's standards. Love our wide receivers. There's a couple things they could fix there. Tight end elite, O-line elite. Got a really good top 10 quarterback. I believe Goff is a top 10 quarterback. The defense, I think, is going to come down to the defense. We can play the run. We did that last year at an elite level. Our whole defensive secondary was revamped. I believe they were like 26th in coverage last year, maybe 19th overall on defense in the passing department, though. It needs to be better. So I can see this team winning 12 games, and we're definitely going to beat the Rams this week for sure.
No doubt. I'm in the same boat. I'm in the same boat of 12-5. I think I can't echo the sentiments of Sports Illustrated of the Lions winning the Super Bowl, but I think they're going to be right there. I think that this season is going to bring a lot of great memories. To me personally, my preference would be to face the Texans because they built this year differently than the Lions. The Lions draft and develop, whereas the Texans kind of spent heavily in free agency for guys from the outside that have talent that many people from the Lions coveted. So I think it's a perfect mix and match of young talent and a team that's on the rise in the Lions and the Texans. So I would love to see that. But I think what would scare me the most would be Patrick Mahomes because, that guy is just on the Jordan level of craziness and what he can do on the football field. He's the one guy that can just put the team on his back and make throws all over the place. He would pick on Tyrion Arnold. He would pick on Amik Robertson. He would do the things that he needs to do. He probably already knows what goes on with the Detroit Lions already. And so I just don't want to face the Chiefs in any capacity. Hopefully they fall. But this season is one in which you just got to sit back, enjoy the ride. It's going to be a great ride. Hopefully the Detroit Lions deliver this fan base, whether it's this year or next year, a Super Bowl. I think that Sheila Hemp has done a wonderful job to revamp everything in the manner in which you need to do it. A head football coach that everybody respects, that can speak to the media eloquently and succinctly and in an entertaining fashion at times. And I think that he also gets the message across that, hey, do the job, handle business, you'll be here. If you don't, we'll find somebody else. And it's just that simple. No BS, no bullshit to anybody. You do your job, you earn your spot, you play. And it's a coach that respects the players, having been a former player. So it's a great opportunity this year to take the ride. I think the schedule will favor Lions at some points. It gets difficult, but there'll be some adversity. But this football team, I think, will have what it takes. When you have that offense, man, I just think it's going to be entertaining. It's going to be fun. You're going to have a lot of time to see touchdowns and dances and points. And you just hope that the defense now can get to the level where they were 19th. You don't need them to be top 5. Just get into that 10 to 15 window, force some opportunistic turnovers, and just help this football team at certain spots. And I kind of hope, me personally, being that I love defense, I hope Jack Campbell becomes kind of that Chris Spielman type where he just lays people out and is a tackling machine in coverage and in against the run. If he can emerge and he can join the ranks of Gibbs, Laporta, St. Brown as a key contributor, man, if you get that linebacking core to match the D-line and the secondary and the safeties, I just think that 12 wins might be an understatement. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks. Myself, I'm a 11-6 kind of guy. I do believe that bringing in DJ Reader, we could actually run a 3-4. We can run a 3-4. We're balanced on defense. The thing that scares me the most is, are you going to rely on these new free agents, Carlton Davis coming in, or Amik Robertson coming in, or Tyrion Arnold? They don't have continuity. I'm a football coach. So is Mark Schmidt. And Mark Orm played high-level football, almost that level. But it needs communication. It needs continuity. So I do believe that it's going to be like 65% zone. Everybody's going to keep their eyes up forward. This is what I'm going to see. Matthew Stafford picks apart a zone. I'm scared for this first quarter. It's great that we have 3 of the first 4 games at home, but then we go into a gauntlet of a whole bunch of road games. So I'm going to go with 11-6, and we will let the former Lion, Mark Schmidt. Make sure you come downtown and see him. He's going to be at the Blue Crew, right? And we're also going to be in front of Tiger Stadium hanging out with the Macho Man with Gary Campione. And then, also at halftime in the atrium there at the front. But thank you guys for all coming on. This was actually one of my best shows. Hang on. It's hard to produce and do this shit too. So you guys kick it off, finish it off here.
Well, I have to do my prediction. You didn't.
No.
Mine. So that's.
You're a receiver, right?
They're 13-4. I'm going to go a little bit better. This week, Coach, you make a great point. They will stay in the zone a lot of times against Stafford. Probably 2/3 is probably what they will do. They'll play that cover 2 man underneath, what we used to call a Zorro coverage. And Stafford is good with that. Cooper Kupp's excellent. And their tight end Tyler. Why do I forget his name now? 89.
Tyler Higbee.
Yeah, Higbee, and Nacua, and they got a great receiving core, and they're decent offensive line, good running backs. They're gonna they'll be there to play. It's not going to be easy. A lot of people just think that Detroit's going to waltz to this victory on Sunday night. I don't. I think it's going to be very close. I think it's going to be neck and neck, and I just think that they're going to be in a tougher situation than they might think. But the crowd should be great. I saw what Coach Campbell said about home field advantage, about can imagine what it's going to be like Sunday night 2 weeks from now. He said that obviously 10 days ago. So it should be a lot of fun. I'll be there, and come on down to the concourse at halftime, and we'll talk some old Lions football. And speaking of Chris Spielman, I came in with Chris a whole lot of years ago. Same rookie class. So it would be nice to have Campbell rise to that occasion. He's kind of the guy to do it. So being around Chris and spending some time with him, obviously back then, and now he's part of Sheila's crew there in the ownership and being vice president of football operations, and no better guy to have than that. And John alluded to it earlier. It's this is really, as we said it all before in the past, but this is really the year, because last year was very successful. This year, and then you have that small window which we all talked about earlier, and it doesn't last very long. It's 4 years at the most with free agency and the way it is, regardless of how you draft it. And Holmes is great at it in drafting, but it's got to be the window is small. It's not going to last forever, and we don't have a Mahomes at quarterback. We're close. We got a guy who's close to that, but not that. And so this has got to be your 13-4. I'm not going to make any predictions as far as the playoffs. Maybe we'll do that next show, but I'm sticking to 13-4. I was right last year, and I was right the year before. So hopefully I'm right this year, guys. So it was a pleasure. Great show. Great show.